TV. Hello, my name is Bronson, and I have a broken leg. And there's a rainbow on the floor.
Behind the red line.
Where are we going?
To Victoria.
We're in Victoria.
What?
Where are we going?
To the Butchart Gardens. And we're going to see some bees, some butterflies, some plants, some flowers.
And some more plants and some more flowers, right?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Just milk.
So right now we are in the parlor, definitely the fanciest room in the house. This room was used for visiting relatives, special occasions. Clara Carr got married in this room. And Clara is the only one of the children who married, which is pretty unusual in a family like this, 5 girls from this time period. We do know that Emily had offers. One man apparently proposed to her every day for 2 months straight, and she shot him down every time. And the other sisters, it's kind of a mystery. We don't know if they wanted to get married and couldn't, or if they just weren't interested. Apart from Emily, Emily, her sisters were very religious, just like their parents had been. Elizabeth especially wanted to be a missionary as a young woman. And this was a time when Victoria was a popular stopping point for missionaries who were trying to go up and down the West Coast to convert Indigenous peoples to Christianity. Emily didn't really get along with Elizabeth's missionary friends. In fact, when they did hymn nights here in the parlor, she trained her pet crow to attack them when she was a teenager. But in her 20s, Emily herself started to get really interested in Indigenous culture in BC. She'd grown up on traditional Lekwungen land, but by the time she was born, the Lekwungen had been displaced to Songhees village across the Inner Harbor. She really wanted to visit an Indigenous community, but she realized that the only other white women who were really doing that were missionaries. So she cozied up to Elizabeth's friends. Presumably she stopped training birds to attack them, and in 1898 went with them to Ucluelet. And these are reproductions of her works there. Bedrooms by modern standards, but enough space for maybe 2 twin beds, a wash stand, and a little wood-burning stove. And if you can imagine the 2 girls' bedrooms, they're basically identical except for the windows on this wall. So this window beside me was known as the car house mystery window for a long time. It seems like it should be the same height as its twin, but it's got modern glass. This means that it was moved at some point after the cars sold the house. Ignore that, we have the loudest phone in the world. I can't figure out how to turn the volume down. So this window was moved at some point and no one could figure out why they would have moved the window up a foot. That is until they found some photos and drawings of the farmland that used to be on the back of the house, and it shows this roof in the background with a little glass shed on top. So based on that and the shape of the window, we think it was originally a door. It probably came down a little bit lower with steps up and out to the shed, which was maybe coal storage. Since every room in the house, except for the children's rooms, had coal-burning fireplaces, this shed meant that Edith and Clara could wake up really early, go get coal without waking up the rest of the house, and have the fires lit and the rooms warm by the time their parents woke up. So the second floor coal shed is pretty unusual. We think it might have been one of Mr. Carr's home renovation projects. He was a bit of an early home improvement guy. And you can actually see his biggest home renovation project on the edge of the hallway here. We're not going to go in because we won't all fit inside, but on the edge of the hallway you will see the first indoor bathroom in the James Bay neighborhood and one of the first in Victoria. It is all modernized, but the paint color in there is original, as are many of the windows. And that indoor bathroom was added in the early 1880s. So at a time when everyone else in town was using outhouses and chamber pots, the Carrs had a running water bathroom. Pretty luxurious. Forests and farms, and then the ocean off of Dallas Road. Looking up one side of the house, they could see Beacon Hill Park. But their view of Beacon Hill Park did change during Mr. Carr's lifetime. After some financial difficulties at the store, he sold the piece of land next to the park to a woman named Mrs. Lush who wanted to build a house there. He said she could build whatever she wanted as long as it wasn't a bar. Can you guess what she did with the land?
Yes.
Yeah, she built a bar right away. She built the Park Hotel and Saloon. So instead of looking onto Beacon Hill Park, Mr. Carr and his wife looked into the backyard beer garden of the saloon. He was pretty upset about all of it.
So her name was a joke, or that really was
That was her name. Or at least in all the records, that is her name.
Maybe that's where it started.
Maybe, yeah.
On this side, what, they'd see the ocean down that way, or
There'd be no houses down this way, but there were no other houses, so just straight down. And they probably would have been able to see the swamp that was James Bay. So James Bay does not exist anymore. The Empress Hotel was built on top of it. So there is no more James Bay, even though the neighborhood's still called that. After Emily's parents passed away, Alice, Emily, and Clara all left this house as adults, but Edith and Elizabeth stayed here on and off until they died. Elizabeth had this room until she died in 1936, and at that point she left the house to Emily and Alice. Perhaps she thought her sisters would want to move back into the house, but instead they sold the old place. Some people think they made this decision for emotional reasons, and it's true that Emily had a tough childhood here as the very independent, rebellious child of a religious conservative family. I'm of the camp that thinks it was more practical, though. In the 1930s, Canada was still in the throes of the Great Depression. And it's funny, today, Emily Carr's paintings sell for millions of dollars, but that was not the case during her lifetime. In fact, she barely made ends meet for most of her life. She ran a boarding house, renting out rooms to try to make some money. She bred sheepdogs and Brussels griffins. Really, she rarely was able to devote herself entirely to painting, and it wasn't until the last few years of her life that she was even well known. So between her not selling paintings and Alice being a retired kindergarten teacher, they just didn't have the money or time to take on a big old home like this. So they sold it, and Emily wrote in her journal that it was a fine old lady of a house, and she wished it could fold up and fly away and exist only in her memory.
I can't climb into your wheelchair there.
It's not looking. I just
It's Electra.
You can sit down.
She might not want to stay. She's had a nap already, so.
Oh, no, you can't eat my squirtle. He has you right here. Eating it. You can jump off.
She looks like she might stay a second.
He has you right here. She's staying more than the other one. He has you right here. Come here. Come here with the doggy. Come here. He's trying to eat that. He's trying to eat it. He's trying to eat that.
Hi, Paige. Big smile.
Ow. It kind of hurts. Ow, he's got me. He's got me.
Likes to climb up. He's gonna stand on top of your head.
Okay.
If it becomes too much, just let me know.
It's okay.
Good? Okay. You're okay with getting mauled by a goat?
Yes. Climbing on me. So, goats are cute. Here's the baby goats.
What's she doing? She wants to sit on your wheelchair with you? Oh, she's gonna jump off?
Trying to jump off.
I don't think they like to do that because they like to stay wet in the water. So,
They can come up here.
well, I haven't seen them do that. They're pretty much in the water. We have.
There's a crab over here.
Oh, you see a big crab? Is it got a shell on its back?
Yep.
Oh yes, that's a hermit crab. Good eyes. He's crawling around too, isn't
Right there.
he? He's right down there. Can you see him? He's got the
Is
shell.
there a real starfish?
Yes. Can you see? There's a skinny red leg sticking out from under the rock there.
Oh yeah, I see two from.
Do you see another one?
Yep, over right there.
Oh, that's another hermit crab. Yeah. But the sea star, that red leg right there. Do you see it sticking out?
Yes.